And thank you, Mr. Case, for your patience. I recognize you for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Furnish, the roadless rule is often cited as the reason or a major contributing reason to decline of timber in Southeast Alaska. Do you buy that? Is that what has caused the decline, or are there other factors that are beyond simply the roadless rule? In other words, if we didn't have the roadless rule, would we have a healthy, accelerating timber industry in Southeast Alaska, or would it still be subject to some external factors that have nothing to do with the roadless rule?
I think that's one of the biggest red herrings I've ever heard. And I would argue that with or without the roadless protections, the fate of the timber industry in Southeast Alaska would be little different than it is today, regardless, one way or another.
And why is that? What are the factors?
Well, there are huge factors. Distance to markets. The litigious nature of the forest practices up there, they just draw litigation like iron filings to a magnet. The inherent high risk of that industry in this island archipelago that has very high transportation costs, very high defect of the old growth timber that they continue to clear cut. I mean, export policies, the below cost condition of much of the timber, I could just go on and on and on of the headwinds that the timber industry supports. And I do not reject the idea of giving Southeast Alaska's timber industry some help. I think they deserve it. But I would much rather see the subsidies and the help be positioned so it's driving them in a right direction so that they have a viable future. What they've been doing and what they keep trying to do is a dead end. They need to change. And the Forest Service should be about assisting them, helping them survive into the future with a viable, reasonably sized industry for Southeast Alaska. It has nothing to do with roadless lands.
Nothing to do with
Nothing to do
rule.
with roadless lands.
So regardless of whether we had a roadless rule or a total exemption or a halfway exemption or any kind of exemption at all, the timber industry would still be facing the same basic economic situation that it is facing today and would continue on the same trends.
And I underscore, I believe they need help. But the help needs to be wise, it needs to be well-directed to give them a viable future. And what they're trying to do now is not that.
Okay, Mr. Venables, what's your response to that? Because I read your testimony here, and you have a very bold paragraph here that says, a total exemption will not significantly affect timber harvest or clear cutting, and you also, I guess I take by implication from that, a total exemption will not somehow jumpstart the timber industry in Southeast Alaska. Would that be a fair statement on my part?
And that's why I led off with, this is not about the timber industry. This is about so many other issues and the impacts. So the timber industry is never going to go back to the heyday of yesteryear. That's not what a viable or healthy timber industry would look like going forward. So I do not disagree with the assertions that Mr.
Okay, so your position is not based on any impact to the timber industry?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'd be happy to provide input from the timber industry about their outlook internally, but my concerns are not timber related.
Okay, so Ms. Hanna, I think you made the statement that this is all about the timber industry. And so what's your take on that?
Well, repeal, I mean...
One of you said that, I forget who.
So yes, our take is that repealing the roadless rule is about the timber roads and the road building associated with timber sales, and that's why this is going through, just because the Forest Service themselves has said this isn't about energy development or mining, and I think it's already been said here today by other witnesses, and it's included in my testimony that other projects have been approved, and the roadless rule has, I think all of the other projects have been approved, and very quickly. And so the need for this rule, when it's already proven to be, the need for this rule to be repealed when it's already proven to be flexible is something that we call into question. Why are we pursuing this avenue unless for timber sales in some areas that have been hard to access that aren't currently available that would cost taxpayers significantly more money and losses if we pursue them.
Okay, thank you very much.